In this video, I am going to teach you how to successfully run a discovery call. So if you get nervous before your discovery calls, you're going to want to watch this. My name is Gabrielle. I am a niche expert and a sales coach, and I help people find their niche and then sell in a way that feels good to them so that they have a thriving business. Now, I will forewarn you that I teach sales a little differently than most people do. I am not about ABC, always be closing. I'm very much about helping you sell in a way that truly feels good and taking on clients that are aligned with you so that it's a win-win for everybody. Now, I have an 85% close rate, successful close rate in my business. And I'm going to teach you literally step by step how I run my discovery calls and what I swear by, and the reason why I swear that I have that 85% close rate there. And I'm going to teach you all the tips and tricks. So if that is interesting to you, definitely continue watching. So step number one, something I see all the time is that people leave their calendars open for anybody in the world to put time on, right? Especially if you're starting your business. Most new entrepreneurs, and I was too, desperate for money, right? Maybe you were just laid off from your job. Maybe you quit your job. You're going all in. The bills don't pay themselves. You want that money. So you are going to do everything in the world to get clients, which means you are going to have your calendar open for anybody to add time on. When I work with people in their sales strategies, I find that the reason why they are nervous is because they have no idea what they're walking into. Take that stress away from yourself. Allow yourself to know who you are getting on a call with. And you do this by knowing who you are getting on a discovery call with. Do not leave your calendar open for anybody to jump on with you. Absolutely not. Sales come from relationships, especially if you are doing high ticket sales. And I would not recommend doing discovery calls for like low ticket courses or anything like that. That's not the best use of your time. You want to know who you are walking into and what to expect so that you can have the confidence to navigate that conversation. Because if you go into the conversation all wary, right, they're going to be wary too. Your high ticket program is high ticket, which means multiple thousands of dollars, which means it's a lot of money. People aren't just going to dish that out for anything. You must go into those conversations with confidence. Confidence in what your business is, confidence in what you are selling, clarity in all of that. The confidence comes, right, from doing it multiple times, clarity. And I always go back to niche. If you are not super confident and aligned in what your niche is, aka in what your business is, who you are talking to, groundedness in the skill set, the uniqueness that you bring to the table, it's not sales that you need help with, it's niche, and that's okay. That is okay. But anyways, step number one, make sure you know who you are getting on the call with. Have an application for your program. Vet these people out. Your time is money. You do not want to be wasting your time hopping on with anybody who just, it's not a good fit at all. And you could have vetted that out through a Google form, which is free to use. I personally do my forms through Honeybook. You could do it through Dubsado. So many ways to do it, free and paid options. Have an application. Or I should say, invite people from your DMs, right? Leads that you are having active DM conversations with, invite them onto a discovery call once you've vetted them out to the point that you know they are a good fit. They're practically sold on you. They just want details, but they know that you can help them, and you know that you can help them. When you have that confidence of knowing who you're walking into, knowing that you can help them, understanding their problems, right? Knowing like, oh, she's dealing with that. I can do that in my sleep. I'd love to help her, right? Then say, hey, what you're struggling with is right up my alley. Something that like I teach my clients to do all the time. Do you want to hop on a discovery call to see if I'd be a good fit for you? See if we'd be a good fit for each other? When you open the door to that, you know who you're walking into, and it's a consensual sales conversation. Another reason why I find that people get nervous a lot is that they're having a coffee chat. They're inviting somebody onto a coffee chat, right? And then their intention is to sell them, where the person who's coming on doesn't know they're being sold to, and it's just a disaster. So when you have that consensual sales conversation, you get that permission from them, like, yes, I'd love to hear how you can help me. Perfect. There you go. And you know who you're getting on with. That is step number one to making sure that like your energy's there, everything's feeling good, all of that. So I can't recommend that enough, because that point is looked over so many times, and it's a big reason why people struggle greatly with discovery calls. Step number two, once you have hopped on that call with this lead that you know, you like, they know you, they like you, they have that trust with you, now the ball's in your court. It's really important to maintain control of the conversation, and not in like an alpha dominating way whatsoever, but in a way where if the conversation gets off track, you can bring it back on. And if you struggle with bringing up your programs and discovery calls, this tip that I'm about to mention is going to help you so much. So I do something called an upfront contract. And this upfront contract allows me to maintain the control of the conversation in a way that feels good to me. And it allows me to segue into my programs if they are a good fit very, very smoothly. And if I do want to say no to this person because it doesn't feel good, it lays me up to do that very, very well. Here's what an upfront contract is. In the beginning of your call, after you guys just like, check in and where are you from, all that stuff, kind of shoot the breeze for a second, jump right into it and just say, I'm so excited to talk with you today. I know we've been chatting in DMs, or I know, thank you for filling out the form, however you want to say it. I know we've been chatting in DMs. And so I've definitely learned a bit about your situation, but I want to make sure that you are like a 10 out of 10 fit so that you get the most out of my programs or my offerings. And so that I can understand that I can fully help you, because if I'm not confident that I can fully help you, I'm not going to suggest it. So I want to walk through what you're struggling with, what you envision, right? Like what you want to invest in, like what kind of help you're looking for. And then if that makes sense, I'll suggest my programs. And if it's not aligned with what I have to offer, I will try to give you other suggestions of people in my network who could potentially help you. How does that sound? There's your upfront contract. You are laying the expectations. You are managing the expectations. You're putting a boundary down that, hey, this isn't free coaching. I really want to hear what you're struggling with to ensure that it aligns with what I have to offer before I suggest what I can offer to you, right? It also gives you permission where if the conversation starts veering off, you can bring it back. And at the end, you always want to ask, how does that sound to you? So that they say yes or no, right? 9.9 times out, I've never had somebody say no. 9.9 times out of 10, they say yes. Okay, great. It's consensual. We have their permission. Let's continue. And then now the door's opened for you to ask questions. It's really hard to ask questions in the DMs. People get turned off easily because it seems like you're fishing, because you are fishing, and it's just like not natural and organic. Now on the call, you have permission to fish a bit. The first question I want you to ask them, I don't give you a list of 5,000 questions at all. I do not believe in sales scripts. I think that's the worst thing you can do. You should 100% ask this question in a way that feels good to you. But the gist is 3 buckets. Bucket number 1, what are they struggling with? What are their pains? However you want to say it. Write them out. Write them out like your life depends on it, because that is market research. Even if that person does not sign with you, that is market research. That's very valuable information. So write it out like your life depends on it. Ask more questions if it naturally comes up. And if not, second bucket. Second bucket is what help are you looking for, right? Like what do you envision from here on out? What support do you feel that you need? The answers to those 2 questions, those 2 buckets, your gut is immediately going to know if you are a good fit or not. Do not ignore your gut. Do not act out of desperation. If their pains are really like not aligned, like 50% aligned with what you have to offer, not a good fit. If what they're envisioning is not even close to something that you offer, it's probably not a good fit. Now, you could definitely work with the objections there in terms of like what they think that they need, right? Based off your experience. There's more wiggle room in that bucket. But if their pains are really not aligned, just let them finish speaking and like let them know, I'm so sorry, but like this is not something that I feel fully confident I'll be able to help you with. And then help them come up with some suggestions for help, right? That's going to go really, really far for you. But anyway, so those two buckets. And then the third bucket is, what investments have you made in your business before? You want to understand, is this their first investment? Because if you work with newer entrepreneurs, newer anything within your niche, and it's their first investment, the sale is going to be harder, especially if it's high ticket, because this is the first time they've done that. And then also, you want to hear, what have their experience has been like? I can't tell you the amount of people I've been on a discovery call with who have been burned by coaches in the past, who are very apprehensive to do it again. It's so important that I, as their new potential coach, knows that so that I can help them through that, right? I want to be aware of that. I have had recently, I was talking to a woman on discovery call. She paid $10,000 to join a group program, and the coach did not Voxer her back for 14 days. It's beyond unacceptable. And knowing those things is very, very important for you as a coach to, one, make sure that you do not do at all. And two, maybe highlight some of your client testimonials that show how fantastic your support has been, right? Because that could be a big objection for them. So it's really good for you to know what their past investments are. Now, let's say you work with coaches and they're a more established coach and this is not their first investment. The sale's probably going to be a little easier because it's not their first investment. That's just the reality of it. But it's really important that you get the answers to those three buckets. Now, I alluded to this a little bit a few minutes ago, but your gut is going to tell you what the move is here. If what they are saying is aligned with what you have to offer, which if they've been vetted properly before hopping on a discovery call, it likely is, not always, but like 8 times out of 10 it is, it's time for you to suggest your programs. And that's what you say, right? Because you managed the expectations from the beginning of saying, hey, I want to ask you a couple questions to make sure that it's aligned with what I have to offer. And if so, I will suggest programs. If not, we'll chat about that. So if it is, this is where you say, thank you so much for all of that. That was so helpful. I can absolutely help you. And I feel so confident that I can help you. So let me walk through my programs. If you're cool with that, the programs that I think you will get the best result in, let's chat about those. Dive into your programs. That's one route. Second route, if it's not a good fit, is simply saying, I am not fully confident that I'm going to be able to give you the result that you're looking for. And I don't feel comfortable asking for your money if that's the case, right? Because we operate with integrity without a doubt. But let me help you, right? I'm thinking of XYZ person in my network that would be so good at this. I'm going to introduce you guys via email. She'll be able to definitely help you, or he'll be able to help you with XYZ pain you're experiencing. That's not fully up my alley, so I'm not super comfortable with moving forward. They will appreciate that like you would not even believe. And integrity takes you the long haul. It takes you the long haul. Don't ever, ever, ever not operate with integrity, especially when it comes to sales, but in every single aspect of your life. I can't stress it enough, because what's going to happen too, not only are you being a good person without a doubt, that person's going to pick up on it, because there's not a lot of integrity in the online space, right? Service provider space. And which is why you want to ask them about their investments and experiences in the past so that you can get an understanding for that. But the next time that they have somebody in their network who's struggling with what you have to offer, they're going to suggest to you. They will suggest you. And don't hesitate if you say no when you hop off the call, you do your email introduction, if that makes sense. And then send them your referral packet. Hey, I'm so sorry that we didn't work out, but if there's anyone that you know who would be of interest in my services, I have an exclusive referral program that I'd love to extend an invite to you in, right? I'd love to invite you into this. If you know of anyone and you refer them to me, I'll give you a little commission if they sign on, right? It's a person in your network, so don't take that lightly. So that's the no route. In the yes route, you dive into your programs, you really walk through the transformation. The key here is, remember you wrote those vicious notes about their pains? This is where you want to use the words that they were saying to help them, right? To sell them on what your program is. And you are not in the business of convincing anybody, but you really want to showcase the transformation. So here's an example. If I am on a discovery call with somebody and they know that I'm a niche expert, right? And they're really struggling to find their niche and get their business started, that they're really struggling with that. And instead of saying the word niche, they say the word, they want to figure out their skills. When I talk about my program, I'm not going to say, hey, I help you find your niche. I'm going to say, hey, I help you identify what your skills are and then how you can turn that into a business. It's the same thing. It's just different wording. Only do this if you know that you can 100% deliver the result that they're asking for, of course. But in that instance, it's just different verbiage. So I'm going to switch out the words that I use to the words that they use so that it seems like I'm in their head and they're like, oh, she just totally gets it. It helps you so much more in sales. So you talk about your programs and then you give them the price. Once you give them the price, pause. It is $100. Pause. And wait for them to just nod their head, say, okay, say something. Because if you keep talking after you say that price point, then it just seems like you're justifying it. And it doesn't come across as confidence. I will sit there for a solid 10 seconds if I have to. The price is $5. Cool. Move right along, right? Just like that. Because it shows too that like there's no wiggle room in your price. Obviously it's more than $100 or $5, but whatever that price is, make sure you're grounded in it. That's huge. That's a whole different video, but pause. Give yourself a pause because then you're going to keep talking and try and justify it. And then you can throw the whole sale off there. Now, here is my secret trick that I use that I suggest more than anything. And there's a lot that kind of goes into this to make sure it's done properly. I let them know that I do not want a yes or no on this call. I want them to think about it. I want them to marinate on it. I want them to meditate on it, ask the universe for a sign, talk to their partner if that's what feels good to them, talk to their accountant, talk to their lawyer, whatever they need to do. I want them to think about this decision so that they are a 110% hell yes client if they say yes. I do not want to sign somebody on who's half in because they're going to half-ass it the whole time. And I don't have time for that. And it's a waste of their time and their resources and my time and my resources. The money is not worth it at all in that instance whatsoever. So I always say, I do not want a yes or no from you. I want you to marinate on this. And here's the kicker for you guys if you do this. The only thing that I ask is when and where, they're like, what method of communication can I follow up with you on to get a response? And then they'll say, let's say it's Monday, right? You can follow up with me Friday morning in our Instagram DMs. Feel free to send me a voice note and I'll give you an answer then. This goes such a long way. One, because the person really notices that you respect their decision-making. You know that, hey, this is an investment. You probably need to think about it. You know too that like you don't want someone to just sign on for the sake of signing on and collecting their thousands of dollars or however much it is. You operate with integrity. You value their decision-making. Allow that, but you also have a boundary. That does not mean, okay, I'll just check in with you at some point. No, time and a place. I will see you then, right? You give them their time. They set the standard for when you can reach back out to them. And then that's it. So it's boundary, it's assertive, but it's in a way that feels good. Obviously, only do this if it feels good to you. I have never, ever, ever, and I've done so many discovery calls, had somebody not respond when I've done that follow through because it's mutual respect. It's consensual. It's not me badgering them. It's, Hey, it's like going to get coffee with a friend. Oh yeah, me and so are meeting at 12 on Friday at Starbucks. Great. It's the same thing. Because there's a relationship foundation there, right? Because we're not just inviting anyone on these discovery calls. And because there's a mutual respect because you've respected them this entire time, you haven't jumped down their throat, no crazy sales, it's consensual, they're going to respect you back. That's how relationships work. I cannot recommend that all of these steps, and especially that last step, enough, because the last thing you want is somebody to just be like, yeah, I'm in. And then 2 hours later be like, shit, I don't want to be in anymore. I need to get out now. After they've signed their contract, after they've paid their deposit. I hear horror stories of clients wanting to stop midway through because it wasn't a hell yes to begin with. I've never, ever, ever had that happen. And I work with women all over the world. I've never had somebody want to just back out midway through or before we even started at all. It's not worth it. So I hope that this was helpful. And if you need help generating leads, getting people onto discovery calls, I have an awesome free quiz I'm going to put below. It is how to find your aligned sales strategy. I'm all about teaching women, teaching business owners how to sell in a way that feels good to them. And that starts by generating leads in a way that feels good to them. Example, if you're an introvert and I'm like, hey, you need to cold DM 50 people a day, you're going to burn out, you're going to dread it. You're just not operating in your highest and truest self at all. Sales can feel good. It does not have to be scary, but there are steps that need to be taken to get there. And there is some looking in the mirror to understand what you truly want and how you genuinely operate to get there. So if you want help, that free quiz is below. Check it out and subscribe to my channels if you want more tips like this.